Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts, Mattson Heiner.
Better read than dead.
Javier Ortiz.
What is up, my nerds?
And Ian Anderson.
Some shit.
We appreciate your help growing the podcast. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons. Go check out our website, whatsourverdict.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive content and updates, pick up some sweet merch, and interact with us. The question we always ask, if you ever find yourself wondering if you should spend the time, money, or both on a movie, to help with that question, each week we put a movie on trial, discuss the facts, pass judgment, and let you know our verdict. Today we're reviewing The Batman. It was released March 4th, 2022. It was written by Matt Reeves and Peter Craig. It was directed by Matt Reeves. It stars Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Paul Dano, Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell, and John Turturro. When the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement. This is our spoiler-free review, where we'll rate this movie on a 3-tiered scale. Worth it, meaning you should watch this movie as soon as possible. Stream it, wait until you can watch it for free. And finally, not impressed, meaning you shouldn't watch this movie at all. You can listen to our deep dive review on The Batman on Monday, March 14th. So with that, let's dive into our spoiler-free, gents.
I still can't see Colin Farrell in that.
It's crazy,
as the Penguin.
Yeah. Oh, that's who that was?
Oh, yeah, definitely did not connect that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Nope.
Yep.
when did Colin Farrell show up in the Batman? I thought you just wrote somebody's name.
Makeup artist with the prosthetic nose. Well played.
Yeah, he was
Well done.
in it quite a bit, actually. Yeah, he was the
Wow,
Penguin.
that totally. I'm going to see it again today, and I still don't know if I'm going to see it in him.
You won't see it, but you'll hear it. If you listen to it, you'll hear it.
Yeah,
Especially
JJ told
in,
me
like, the
in the
quieter
beginning,
moments.
and I still didn't see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. Like, he disappears in the makeup, but yeah, but his voice, you'll catch it a couple of times. But even, he puts that heavy New York accent on, so you just have to hear the tone that comes through for you to actually catch it. But yep, that's Colin Farrell as the Penguin, or Oz in this one. Was
that a spoiler, or was that just we wanted to?
No, that's
cast
listed
list.
as it's cast list. So.
No, yeah,
and that's that's on the IMDb page. They say, well, they call him Oz, but that's Oswald Cobblepot, so he's the Penguin. All right, Ian, why don't you start us off on our spoiler-free review of The Batman?
Yeah, the Batman. So the reason for my Batman is because the Batman was so freaking long. So it was good, but I felt like the length kept it from being great. There's so much content to it, like it was all good content, but by the end you're just kind of being beaten over the head like some of the villains that Batman takes out in this movie, with different ending scenes and just so different mini like storylines that are all trying to compete for attention, that it kind of detracts from the movie overall. That said, I loved watching Robert Pattinson, that's his name, right? Be Batman, and I wasn't sure that I was going to enjoy it, seeing as how his last experience with something bat related was a shiny vampire. So yeah. With all that said,
Oh shit.
with all that said, I think I'm still gonna give it a worth it, even though, because I feel like, yeah, it's fun to watch in the theater. It's worth it, but just prepare yourself for a movie marathon kind of a thing. So
Fair enough. Javier.
Yeah. Oh, so I think there's a lot more to like about this movie than there is to hate about this movie, but I can't overlook the fact that it's a 3-hour movie and it has 9 different endings to it. So I think I am surprised that this is like the edited cut version. I am horrified to think of what the uncut version looks
Maybe they
like.
took a page out of Zack Snyder's book.
They-
Yeah, good thing he wasn't involved. Jeez.
Think about that. This movie's only an hour shorter than the uncut version of 5 different superhero movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like a movie with 5 different heroes in it. Only an hour shorter.
Jeez. So anyway, I think I'm going to give it a worth it too. There's a lot of cool things about this movie. Robert Pattinson did really well. I kept comparing it to The Dark Knight, and like I think JJ has a history of saying Christian Bale's not a good Batman. And after watching Robert Pattinson, I was like, okay, if I had to compare those two head to head, I could be convinced to give it to Robert Pattinson, right? And a few other characters. So anyway, I thought it was really good, really long. And I do have some problems with it, but otherwise, you should go watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, the deep dive should be interesting on this one. I like this movie. I like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think the difference between what I really liked about this Batman and the difference between it and every other Batman is the Dark Knight. Part of what made it so good is that there are some really kind of twisty mind things that you have to think about in that movie. And this one is full of those. Like there's consequences to the things that are going on. And it's not just a normal superhero movie. And then I really liked the villains. I liked all the takes on the characters in this movie. Like it was intense, which was fun, and it was dark and it was heavy. It was investigator Batman. I mean, if you're looking for the normal superhero trope of Batman just dropping in, beating guys up, and then running away and playing the playboy, that's not this movie. So,
but there is some of that.
Oh, there's plenty of that.
Like beating dudes with their own rifles. That was
there's plenty of ass whoopings in this movie, but it's definitely not your typical Batman movie. But I like it because it's dark, like the comics, and it's more of a return to the Batman that I fell in love with in the comics, the early comics. So, and we'll talk more about that in the deep dive, I'm sure. But it is long. Ooh, it's long, and I've seen it twice now. And it was longer the second time. Like it's one of those movies that when it comes out on streaming, I'll fast forward a lot of chunks of this movie that I just didn't need to get to the parts that I really want to watch. But overall, it's certainly a very interesting, fun movie. And maybe fun's the wrong word, but it's a good movie. So I'm also going to give it a worth it at least once in the theater because it's fun to watch. All right, Mattson, finish us off on the spoiler-free.
Like I just put in perspective, compared to a lot of superhero movies we've seen of late, just a lot of movies in general. If you're trying to say, is this movie worth seeing in theaters? I definitely think it's absolutely worth it. Is it long? Yes. Could this movie have benefited from cutting out 30 minutes here and there, as we'll talk about in the deep dive? Absolutely.
30 minutes here and there, and maybe
I wish they would have. I wish they would have thought about that. But if that aside, Robert Pattinson definitely slayed it. I mean, I had high hopes because of the last few movies we've seen him in Tenet and The Devil All the Time and The Lighthouse, which we hadn't reviewed. He's a good actor, and this continues to confirm he carried a well-known character, a superhero, and he made it his own. And I think that's hard to do, especially with some of the success of recent, or I should say, older Batmans, not more recent,
especially when there's
Batmans,
like 12 movies,
like
6 different Batmans.
It's hard to carve your own niche, and for me personally, he did. And I think JJ, the one thing he called out that I really liked is I like this investigator Batman. I haven't seen that side of a Batman before, and it really felt real. And this movie felt like a true crime podcast brought to life in a lot of ways because of the over-the-top kind of cerebral villain, which we didn't really talk about. I personally liked Michael Duran, who played the Riddler. I thought his voice, and it was almost like a homage back to Bane in a way, in the way he talked a little bit, and his mask and whatnot. And then I just liked the back and forth. So I thought it was a good movie. It was just really long, and if it was shorter, I think I would have liked it even more, and could have been one of the best movies maybe I've seen in a long time. But it's not, because it's so long, and there's some other things we'll talk about. But solid movie for me. Definitely go see it in theaters if you're starving for a movie that's worth it on the big screen. To me, it is. It looks great. There's great cinematography. It's dark. Go see it, and make sure that you drink some caffeine before.
Madsen, it's so good to see you mature as a person, because younger Madsen would have ripped apart a 3-hour movie regardless of how good it was. So I'm just so proud of you. You know,
No, that's not true. I'll still, if it wasn't as
I
good,
need to go back and listen to how many podcasts you've downvoted movies because of how long they were.
But
That
I
was like,
wasn't as interested in them though. Like I can
Yeah.
overlook it if there's good acting, cinematography, story, progression, which this for me hit most of that.
Stillwater. You crapped on Stillwater because it was long, and that had great
Oof.
acting.
I still think Taylor highly influenced me on that because she was so bored with it. But I don't know. I just didn't dig it as much. Maybe if they had some action scenes in there and Matt Damon like did some Texas whoop on some people, I would have felt differently.
Problem is, you would have to do some Oklahoma whoop, and that's a very
That's right. It's
different
Oklahoma.
one.
It's
Yeah,
all
that
the
one
same,
is cool.
dude.
That
Everything
make
east and south of us is Texas.
they don't make Oklahoma movies for a reason. It's Texas.
Oh shit, that's funny. Oh man, yeah, Four Worth It's a good movie. Check us out for the deep dive. I really wanted to say something right there, but it's not. It doesn't belong in a spoiler-free review. So, good movie. Go check it out. Worth the watch at least once in the theater, and then some personal editing once it's able to be streamed will be fun. I'm excited for that. So, Matt, tell everybody where they can find us when they're not watching us on YouTube.
Hey, when you're out there on social media checking out the craziness of this world, find us on whatsaverdict.com to see what's upcoming for the month. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram most especially, and then our spoiler freeze here on the YouTube. Make sure that you hit or follow that like or subscribe button and continue to chime back in. Thank you all.
Sweet. All right. With that, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye
Bye.
now.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!